Hello everybody, welcome back to this channel. Today I am joined by Fearless, aka Gezer.
Today we're going to be debunking these false rumors that Mickey's above Sidney from these Mickey glaciers, which is just nearly false.
So we're going to disprove this.
Let's get into it.
Fight and choreography analysis.
First of all, we'll be debunking this false narrative that the necklace attack is an off guard. First of all, we can make a deduction that Mickey saw Sidney's arm movement because he's looking directly at her. It would not be a surprise because Sidney holds possession of the necklace, which Mickey knows prior.
We also see him partially turning his head before the necklace lands the attack, disproving the quote-unquote off-guard statement.
I would also want to make a point that offensive Mickey is way above his defensive self. This is evidential on Sidney neutralizing his defense on 3 separate occasions that objectively show his defense is significantly inferior to Sidney's offense. And through the virtue of empirical evidence, we can deduct that the necklace attack was not an off-guard, as we've already established.
The second encounter between defensive Mickey and offensive Sidney shows him getting speed blitzed twice. Then, in the third encounter, after she punches him into the pillar, she baits him through constantly peeking her head around the pillar. Then she forces Mickey into following her head movement. This is not an off-guard and would fully count as a blitz because the scene shows him following her every movement and trying to make sure she doesn't get away. She takes advantage of this by grabbing him and slamming him onto the pillar.
We can also make a deduction that she reaffirms the offensive position.
Now, proving that offensive Mickey is above defensive Sidney. Mickey is easily able to penetrate Sidney's defense here by grabbing her and throwing her onto a wall, which would count as a hit because it harms the person and asserts dominance over them in that instance.
This is not an off-guard because Sidney is blatantly shown to be looking at him and has time to sidestep before the attack and is looking at him. Therefore, this is not an off-guard.
Offensive Sidney is also significantly above offensive Mickey. After Mickey slams Sidney onto the wall, which we already established as offensive Mickey, she's easily able to reaffirm the offensive position, putting him back on defense, and easily holds that position. This is also a blitz, as he is shown to be looking at her while she does both of the hits. Therefore, offensive Sidney is above offensive Mickey.
The fight would realistically be a low to mid-diff if it wasn't for Mickey off-guarding Sidney, then putting a gun on her. And the reason for this is because her offense is enough to put offensive Mickey back on defense, which is objectively his worst style, proving this to be a significant win con for Sidney.
So the chain scaling would be offensive Sidney is way stronger than offensive Mickey, who's stronger than defensive Sidney, who's way stronger than defensive Mickey. Now onto the AP and CR speed perspective.
In terms of AP, Sidney is significantly above Mickey due to the fact that 2 of her hits in succession are able to stun Mickey longer than Mickey's slam does to Sidney. On top of that, he is forced to lean heavily on the environment. He would have completely gotten floored had he not had the environment to lean on. This would also suggest Mickey's normal AP is further below, because even with an environmental attack, he can't stun Sidney as long as she does with regular attacks.
Now onto the CR speed perspective. We see Sidney is constantly able to blitz Mickey on 3 separate occasions. The first is at the start of the fight with the necklace, which we've already established is not an off-guard, obviously. The second instance is when Mickey slams her onto the wall. She's able to recover and lands an elbow. This is not an off-guard as he's looking directly at her. Then, right after that, she lands another hit, which is not an off-guard. The third instance is when she grabs his hands and slams him into the pillar, which is not an off-guard as he is looking at her, which is a blitz.
Sidney wins low to mid diff via these win cons.
Quick spoiler alert. The next video is going to be about Richie in Scream 5.
Thanks for watching.
Have a great day.